What's happening, guys? My name is Bobby O'Neill. I'm the pitching guy here with Headbanger Sports, and in today's video I'm going to teach you how to analyze your pitching mechanics when it's 105 degrees outside and your game gets canceled. So I've made a few videos like this in the past, but today I'm going to go a little more in depth on the few of the shapes that I look for whenever I'm analyzing a pitcher. For today's video I'm going to be analyzing Paul Skeens. The first one has to do with the arm path as it comes out of the glove right here. This window right here is so important because we're looking for either a disconnect in the arm path where he's traveling too far out this way, or a more compact, efficient arm path where his hand gets to his end range or its lowest point here prior to the hand stopping its movement and then beginning to follow the elbow up through the chain this way as the elbow approaches shoulder height. Now, we don't want to be aggressive in this window because what happens is the elbow gets overly disconnected from the body up in this direction, which could cause a ton of issues with the arm path. But what we're looking for is we're trying to get the elbow to secure the shoulder plane prior to the hand flipping. Now, the phrase I use for this particular motor pattern is we want to make sure that the hand flips without the elbow going for a dip. So we say flip, don't dip. So this phrase here is super important. Now, Paul Skeens does a little bit too much here. This is more than I would have the average guy do, where his hand kind of, the hand and elbow are kind of slightly above the armpit height here. He does get a little bit much, but he does recover nicely where the hand is able to flip and then the elbow recovers and stays right on plane. If you have a guy who gets too high above that shoulder plane and then the elbow dips below, that's where there's a ton of risk factor and a ton of injury prone concepts. So for this particular movement, Paul does a great job of getting his elbow back connected to the shoulder plane and he's in that flipped position. So the second thing that I look for is coming out of that position, we want to see this lower half here, or so the ankle and the knee, we want to see that begin to unwind the pelvis. So at this point here, the pelvis hasn't fully rotated. So right here at this position, the pelvis is still like loading and waiting for that hip and hand to start to sync up. So this position here where he begins to unwind his pelvis, that's right at the same time that his hand is beginning to flip. Now from this position, he's going to take the pelvis to drive the trunk rotation, which is going to drive layback, where the arm kind of gets left behind for a split second here. Now this is what I refer to as the Nike swoosh. So the layback of the arm should be synced up to the connection to the ground of the back foot. That Nike swoosh position is vital to making sure that he is on time and synced up, and that's what's going to drive that forward movement of the arm flip to now whip at the end. Now that whip window is the explosive window. That's where you really need to be under control of the body, because if you're out of control here with your torso, like you're diving forward, or you'll see guys who are like collapsing in their knee where energy is like leaking out their front leg. If you don't have a steady connection to the ground and a steady, stable back foot connection when you're going into that release, that's going to cause a ton of issues. So we want to make sure that as you approach this window, the center of your body is completely under control and the rotation of everything is driving the layback of that arm. So once we get through this position and it's time to start unwinding and unloading, we want to be completely secure to the ground. You want to make sure that this front leg isn't collapsing and it's holding its ground. You see, Paul doesn't fully lock out his leg. He's just completely under control. So that is kind of the concept here. We want to make sure that this front leg is a fulcrum, or like the bracing point that stabilizes the leverage of your upper body. So this point here in your leg is what allows the upper body to launch without this destabilizing or becoming weak. So holding that front leg in place, using the ground force of the front leg to drive that energy back up the chain, that's really what we're looking for here. Now, all of this is kind of the secret sauce here. All of this is made possible with his lower half because he gets into this elite window really well. And this is what I refer to as the trapezoid position. This is one that a lot of you guys can really focus on. So the trapezoid has to do with his hip here, his knee here, and then this leg as it goes. So as we're descending down the slope, we want to be making sure that our back leg is completely under control or externally rotated, where it's not caving in this way prematurely. And then the shape that we're looking for is right here, right before his leg starts turning. And that's the trapezoid here is the two non-parallel lines that make up his legs, and then the pelvis or the pelvic bone that has the hips in socket. You want one hip socket to the next, and then you draw the lines across the kneecaps. Now this trapezoid shape that you see here, if he was collapsing his back leg in, it wouldn't be driving a trapezoid. It would be more like a square where his leg has collapsed through this position, and now you got like this awkward looking square here. A lot of you guys do that, and that messes up your whip window, and it also messes up your flip and dip window. So keeping this back leg under control and being patient with it until it's ready to drive into internal rotation, that's going to be the key. Because if you can be patient with the back leg and you can wait for that back hip to fire at the right time, that's where you start syncing up with the arm, and that's what continues that chain of the back foot driving the knee, which drives the pelvis, which drives the torso, which then allows the arm to lay back here and drive that really good Nike swoosh position, which then allows you to capture the fulcrum and launch through the finish. So that's really the main things that you want to be looking for, and that's a lot easier said than done, but if you can check off those boxes, it's going to be way easier for you to compete in games. It's going to be way easier for you to be under control of your body, and really you're just setting yourself up for optimal success. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Like I said before, my name's Bobby O'Neill. I'm the pitching guy here with Headbanger Sports. So if you ever have any questions at all, you can reach out to me in the comments below, or you can reach out to me on social media, Bobby O'Neill 37 on all platforms. Take care, guys. God bless.